Riley, how was the first day of school?
Fine, I guess.
Did you guys pick up on that?
Sure did.
Something's wrong. Signal the husband.
Uh-oh, she's looking at us. What did she say?
Oh, sorry, sir. No one was listening.
Is it garbage night? We left the toilet seat up. What is it, woman? What?
Now that the film's come out, people have seen it, it's been a huge hit. Something that was kept sort of secret in the marketing campaign was Bing Bong. And I was sort of wondering, what was the thinking sort of squirreling that character away and keeping him a surprise for the film?
Well, two thoughts. From me, as a filmmaker, I'm most excited about this, that we were able to keep it a surprise so that the audience isn't just told everything in the movie. There's these ingredients and these surprises that come up. I mean, that's why you go to movies. On the one hand, you want people to know what they're going to get, but I always love when you can kind of keep like, there's going to be a surprise. So that was cool.
What was it about this character in particular that you wanted to keep a secret? Like, why was it important so that when people went in, they didn't know anything about him?
Well, the other thing is, like, out of context, if you just see this pink elephant alone, do you think, is that movie for like little kids or what? I think the way we treated him was like an out-of-work actor. Who's desperate to get his comeback, which is quite an adult spin on it, but we weren't sure how much of that would come across in just like a still image or whatever, so yeah.
One of the things that fascinated me about the film is which emotions you chose to settle on. You settled on 5, and 4 are typically associated with negative feelings, even though they're not portrayed that way in the film. How did you whittle it down so that it would be these 5 emotions in particular?
It was just a process of kind of feeling its way through. I mean, as a writer, I was sitting there and I made decisions that, like, early on we tried characters like Pride and Hope. Hope walked around and she was sort of a matronly. She wore a big sweater and she's like, oh, I hope Riley has a good day. And we're like, well, that's a little bit one note, but it's also something maybe we would want for Joy. So I remember deciding, okay, we're gonna cut Hope, we're gonna cut Pride, who is another kind of he was a little bit like Thurston Howell III from Gilligan's Island, who was like, well, clearly Riley is the most genius of all the children in her class, so he was fun too, but not really, it sort of got in the way of Joy a little bit, So in the end, we ended up with these 5, and the interesting thing is, more recently there's been an accumulation of all the scientific study done by, I think, 270 scientists around the world. And the 5 emotions that most of them agree on are the 5 we ended up with in the film. So kind of an interesting coincidence there.
What was sort of the give and take in trying to make these characters, even though we give a negative connotation to them, not bad characters, especially Fear in particular, which is usually the most negative in terms of if you were to make a villain almost, but Fear doesn't come off that way.
Well, we did explore the idea of making Fear the villain at one point. But that didn't really say what we wanted to say about what Joy has to learn in the film. Her kind of process of expanding her worldview of how to approach life, that it can't all just be muscled through by being happy and going forward. So that was the fact that some of them are negative or perceived negative. That was something that the scientists we spoke to were very loud and clear about. They were vocal about, these guys have negative elements to them, but they're all in us for a very positive reason. There's a reason they all exist, and they have a benefit to us, or they wouldn't be there. They probably have been weeded out over the millennia of evolution. So even Fear, it has the reason it's there is to keep you safe. When there's something that's new, that's unexplored, uncertainty is the big trigger for fear. It's like, well, okay, what is this? Approach with caution, So every one of them has that same kind of thing where there's a positive reason why they exist.
When it went into going inside the minds of Riley's parents, how did you sort of decide which emotion is going to take point? Because even though it seems like ultimately emotions together make a team effort, there still is the point person. For Riley's dad, it's anger. For her mom, it's sadness. Was that sort of, how did that decision process go into their emotional makeup?
That was based on the observation that we all seem to have different tendencies or leanings. One friend I have tends to have much more of a hair trigger to get angry, or some people are generally more fearful or whatever. So that was just a real life observation that we were using. Also, we wanted to make a point, and this was kind of something that was more important in earlier incarnations of the film, that Joy was maybe limited in her time in control. That as Riley gets older, there's less room for joy in her life. That's the way Joy was seeing things. And so we wanted to prove that in these other characters. Of course, that all kind of went away, and I don't think it's really true anyway. It was something that we were trying to explore, that childhood joy, though it may fade, it changes. You have a deeper, richer understanding of what true joy is as an adult.
You know, you've worked with Pixar for so long, and I was wondering, you know, what did you learn, you know, making Monsters, Inc. and making Up, primarily that you brought into going into Inside Out, and those lessons that really helped in the making of this film?
I mean, there's tons of stuff just about the craft of filmmaking, you know, the idea of cutting and, you know, all sorts of kind of technical stuff. But I think the most important to me that I learned pretty early on was how crucial it is that even though these are entirely made-up worlds about monsters or cars or fish or whatever it is, that ultimately what you see on the screen has to relate to the audience. It has to be familiar in some way that you go, oh, I recognize that. I understand what that character's going through because I've been through that.
These are Riley's memories. They're mostly happy, you'll notice, not to brag.
I wanted to maybe hold one.
What happened? Sadness?
She did something to the memory.
Is everything okay?
I don't know.
Take it back, Joy.
Trying.
Joy, no,
Let it
wait.
go.
The core memories. Can I say that curse word now?
What do we do now?
Nothing's working. Why isn't it working?
We have a major problem.
Oh, I wish Joy was here.
We can fix this. We just have to get back to headquarters.
That's long-term memory. You could get lost in there.
Think positive.
Okay, I'm positive you will get lost in there.